Hello and welcome to our ANOVA module. In this module, we'll be discussing the analysis of variance in a very similar way that we discussed the chi-squared analysis. The expectations in the module are going to be similar. ANOVA is a similar method to chi-squared in that you use grouping independent variables and assess an outcome. But in this case, the outcome is going to be a continuous dependent variable. And both of these together serve to allow you to address situations in which the outcome is either continuous or categorical, as long as you have groups that you're comparing between. So these together are a pretty powerful combination and serve to allow you to address a multitude of different situations. As before, with the chi-squared, we're going to have an article review, so that'll be available with a couple of questions beforehand, testing some conceptual knowledge. This is a pretty often used analysis. I feel like between this and chi-squared, they're certainly not the only ones that are used, but they're often used. ANOVA especially because we typically do in things like an experimental design, we utilize ANOVA analyses. We utilize ANOVAs because often when we're doing experimental designs, we have independent variables that need to be fixed in terms of their levels. So we have an independent variable that, like if we're looking at dosage, I think one of our examples will be dosage. I don't look at every possible dosage, even though that's a continuous variable. You know, I could give a half dose, I could give a 3/4 dose, I could give a 5/8 dose, I could give a 5/16 dose. I can give a whole bunch of different types of dosages. We don't look at all of them. Typically, we look at kind of discretized values. We break it up into chunks, which ultimately means that is categorical, and that's the type of analysis that ANOVA lets us do. It lets us use that categorical independent variable and then study, in this case, a dependent variable. And when taken with chi-squared, you can study either one, depending on what kind of variables you're looking at. So it's a pretty handy method. It's a pretty useful method. And it's a pretty broad method. It has a bunch of other things, too, that we'll discuss because it opens up a bit of a world in terms of analyzing multiple variables at the same time, analyzing one variable while accounting for others, looking at interactions between variables. So this will be the first place we discuss that in this course. But those things are powerful tools in analytics. Rarely do I care if drug A affects outcome, but I might care a lot more if drug A affects outcome after accounting for the severity of the illness in the patients, after accounting for patient demographic characteristics, etc. And if after accounting for all of that information, the drug still has an effect, then maybe that is much more meaningful. And ANOVA is the first analysis that we're really going to talk about that potential with. Even then, we're only going to scratch the surface. Later on, we'll get to, in regression, how we can do more with that. But ANOVA, again, is a very, very useful tool in its analytic procedure because it does account for so much, and it does have the flexibility to work within multiple situations. Otherwise, again, it's going to feel very similar to the chi-squared, just with a different method. It's going to be a little bit more technical in the calculation, and we're actually going to skip over the technical components of the calculation for some more when we're dealing with multiple variables. We'll talk about it for the one variable case, but we'll skip over it for the multivariable case. And even in our examples in the lecture slide, I don't expect you to calculate this by hand. I think we do an example in Excel for the one variable ANOVA, but even there, that's not how these are done. These are typically done, and we're getting to methods now that are complex enough that these really are done using statistical software. And within statistical software, it'll provide not just the ANOVA tables, but also a lot more information associated with them. So this is where we're starting to leave. In the next chapter, we'll keep doing it a little bit. And in our supplemental chapter, if it's available in this course, then we'll get to methods, things like decision trees and neural nets that Excel really is not equipped to handle, at least by its default settings. So within that context, we're getting to methods. This is going to be the first one where we're going to kind of say, hey, Excel is pretty good, but we can't do everything in Excel. So we'll demonstrate one to show you how it works, to give you a feel for it. And then we'll move on and say, look, if you were want to do this at a bigger level, then we encourage you to see some statistical software stuff. Though I may post some resources in case you want to investigate a little bit, because you can do everything in Excel if you really want to, even the fanciest stuff. It just takes a lot of time and it's a real pain. So you can manually code whatever you want in there. If you wanted to. So you can do it. And I should be careful when I say you can't. You absolutely can. It just takes a lot more time and it's a lot more of a headache than other things are. Don't think there's anything else. So I wish you the best on this module. Good luck. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what I'm here for. So I wish you the best, and I hope you enjoy our module on the analysis of variance.